Well, welcome back, and good Tuesday morning, Patriots, to O'Connor's Right Stand, the show that hacks through the liberal jungle with a machete of truth. I'm your host, John O'Connor, and wow, so what a 2 weeks we've had. The past 2 weeks in U.S. politics has been a wild ride, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. President Trump's airstrikes on Iran's nuclear sites were a surgical masterstroke, crippling Tehran's ambitions and showing the world America's back in charge. Though the left's whining, it's just not a total knockout. Ridiculous. Republicans are hustling to ram through Trump's big, beautiful bill by July 4th, but squishy Senate rhinos and Elon Musk's loudmouth gripes are stalling the fight for America First priorities. In LA, anti-ICE troublemakers keep stirring chaos, met with justified force, while the Supreme Court delivered rock-solid wins for Trump's deportation policies, but ducked the birthright citizenship battle. Come on, justices. Grow a spine. It's a high-octane fight, with progressives plotting their 2026 comeback, and conservatives still holding the line for liberty. So, this is episode 3, and I owe you an apology for missing last week's drop. Yep, I dropped the ball, and I'm owning it. I'm a software programmer by day, slaving away for some very large clients, and recently clocking 90-plus hours a week to keep the lights on, all while planning a wedding with my incredible fiancée. April's the big day. Episode 1 took me roughly about 100 hours of blood, sweat, and tears researching, designing graphics, learning audio, cutting segments, crafting music clips, you name it. I've never done almost any of this before. Episode 2 was leaner, much leaner, at roughly only about 16 hours of work. And this one's down to about 10 or 12 hours. So I'm getting faster, but juggling a brutal work schedule and wedding chaos has been a battle. You Patriots deserve better, and I'm committing to deliver. More truth, more fire, and less excuses. So I wholeheartedly apologize, but now let's move on. Today is July 1st. We're diving deep into the slick, polished, and scandal-soaked world of California Governor Gavin Newsom. In my opinion, and based on the current political environment, Newsom is likely the Democrat presidential candidate. So, what do I think of Newsom? Okay. Well, Newsom's a slick-talking, hair-gelled elitist disaster, a spineless opportunist who's turned California into a dystopian dumpster fire with his smug virtue-signaling, tax-hiking, crime-coddling, woke-pandering policies. His sanctimonious grin hides a power-hungry globalist shill who'd rather schmooze with coastal elites than fix the homelessness crisis or skyrocketing gas prices he's inflicted on the state's hardworking Americans. This hypocritical, self-serving pretty boy's a walking mockery of leadership, wrecking the Golden State while preaching his insufferable leftist nonsense. Pause. Alright, so now I'll step off my soapbox, and let's learn more about this guy. Much of this, I must admit, I had even forgotten. This guy's got more baggage than a San Francisco airport terminal, and we're going to unpack how he climbed the political ladder while dodging accountability like he's auditioning for The Matrix. From his silver spoon roots to the governor's mansion, Newsom's story is a masterclass in privilege, ambition, and, let's be honest, some seriously shady decisions. So grab a coffee or an energy drink, buckle up, and let's expose the real Gavin Newsom. Newsom. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button because that really helps me out. And follow me on X at O'Connor Stan. Let me know that you listened to my episode and I'll follow you back. So, alright Patriots, let's get into this. Alright folks, let's start at the beginning. Gavin Newsom wasn't born with a silver spoon. He was born with a whole silver dining set, complete with a personal chef and a trust fund to match. His rise to power is like a Hollywood movie script. Privileged kid, elite connections, and a knack for smoozing his way to the top. Born October 10, 1967, in San Francisco, Newsom grew up in the lap of luxury. His father, William Newsom, was a state appeals court judge and a close ally of the Getty family. You know, the oil tycoon Gettys, with billions to burn. Gordon Getty, heir to the fortune, was like Newsom's fairy godfather, bankrolling his early ventures and opening doors most of us could only peek through. This isn't a rags to riches story, Patriots. It's a riches to more riches with a side of political favoritism. Newsom's childhood was straight out of a California dream. He grew up in Marin County, one of the wealthiest enclaves in the state, attending Redwood High School, where the parking lot probably had more BMWs than a dealership. He wasn't exactly scraping by. His family connections ensured a cushy upbringing. After high school, he went to Santa Clara University, earning a political science degree in 1989. No student loan debt, no late-night dinner shifts, just a smooth path paved by family ties. After college, Newsom didn't climb the corporate ladder. He built his own with the Getty money. In 1991, at just 24, he co-founded Plump Jack Winery with Gordon Getty's financial backing. While most of us were figuring out how to pay rent, Newsom was sipping Cabernet and building a business empire. Plump Jack grew into a hospitality juggernaut. Wineries, restaurants, hotels, even a ski resort in Lake Tahoe. By the early 2000s, Newsom's net worth was estimated at $7 million. Not bad for a guy who never had to hustle the hard way. But here's where it gets fishy. Newsom's business dealings always seem to intertwine with his political gigs. Take Plump Jack's cozy relationship with San Francisco government. When Newsom was on the Board of Supervisors in the late 1990s, Plump Jack scored a lucrative city contract for catering and events, as reported by the San Francisco Examiner in 1999. Conflict of interest? You bet. The Examiner noted that Newsom's businesses benefited directly from his political clout, raising red flags about ethics. And it wasn't just catering. Plump Jack's wine was served at city functions, and Newsom's restaurant group got prime real estate deals. This is the game, folks. Use your insider status to pad your wallet, then act shocked when people call it cronyism. A 2000 San Francisco Weekly investigation even suggested Newsom's votes on the board favored policies that indirectly boosted his businesses, like zoning changes near Plump Jack properties. Coincidence? You decide. Let's talk about how Newsom broke into politics. In 1995, he volunteered for Willie Brown's mayoral campaign. Yep, that Willie Brown, who, if you remember, had a relationship with Kamala Harris. We'll probably save that for another episode. For those who don't know, Willie Brown was San Francisco's political kingpin, a master of machine politics who ran the city like his personal playground. Brown saw Newsom's charm, his Getty connections, and that multi-million-dollar smile, and thought, this kid's my golden ticket. In 1996, Brown appointed Newsom to the Parking and Traffic Commission, a small but strategic role that gave him a foothold in city politics. A year later, in 1997, Brown bumped him up to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, replacing Kevin Shelley, who moved on to the state assembly. Newsom was 30, with zero grassroots experience, but he was already a political insider. That's how the machine works. You scratch the right backs, you get a cushy gig. By 2003, Brown was openly endorsing Newsom for mayor, cementing his role as Newsom's political mentor. Let's be real. Newsom's early career wasn't about serving the public. It was about branding. He was young, handsome, wine-sipping Democrat who could charm a room. In 2003, he ran for mayor of San Francisco, promising to fix the homelessness and clean up the streets. Sound familiar? That's the same song he's been singing for 20 freaking years. And California streets are worse than ever. But back then, the hype was real. Newsom faced off against Matt Gonzalez, a Green Party candidate, in a very tight race. He campaigned as a moderate, promising care, not cash, to redirect homeless funds to services rather than cash handouts. He won with 53% of the vote, becoming San Francisco's youngest mayor in a century at age 36. The media went wild. The New York Times called him a rising star in a January 2004 profile. But the cracks were already showing. His Care Not Cash program was more about headlines than results. A 2005 San Francisco Chronicle report found homelessness dropped by only 3% under Newsom's plan, despite his bold claims. And then came the scandal that nearly derailed this, a personal betrayal that exposed his true character. So let's dive into that next. Alright, so if you haven't already, grab your popcorn, because this is where the Newsom saga gets juicy. In 2007, Gavin Newsom's personal life imploded in a scandal that would make a soap opera writer blush. As mayor of San Francisco, Newsom was caught having an affair with Ruby Rippy Tork, his appointments secretary, and, brace yourself, the wife of his campaign manager and close friend Alex Tork. Yeah, you heard that right. At the time, Newsom was married to Kimberly Guilfoyle. Yes, that Kimberly, now a Trump world superstar. But he threw it all away for an affair with his best friend's wife. This wasn't just a scandal, folks. It was a betrayal of epic proportions, a gut punch to everyone who's ever trusted him, and a neon sign flashing character flaw for the entire world to see. So here's how it went down.
I've hurt someone I care deeply about, Alex Turk, his friends and family, and that is something that I have to live with and something that I am deeply sorry for. I am also sorry that I've let the people of San Francisco down. They expect a lot of their mayor, and my personal lapse of judgment aside, I am committed to restoring their trust and confidence, and will work very hard in the upcoming months to make sure that the business of running the city is framed appropriately.
Folks, this wasn't just a personal failing. It was a window into Newsom's soul. Did he seem sorry in that clip? Not to me. Maybe sorry that he got caught. Seriously, how do you do that to a friend and an ally? He was the mayor of a major city, entrusted with leading 800,000 people, and he couldn't keep his personal life in check. He betrayed his wife, his friend, and the voters who bought his Rising Star Act. This was a guy who, with Guilfoyle, was once dubbed the new Kennedys by Harper's Bazaar, living the glamorous life. But behind the scenes, it was chaos. The San Francisco Chronicle reported on February 2nd that the affair happened during Newsom's divorce from Guilfoyle, a time when he was already under scrutiny for dating a 19-year-old model, Brittany Mounts, in 2006. His Playboy image was starting to crack, and this scandal blew it wide open. And what did Newsom do? He tried to spin it like a seasoned pro. At the press conference, he apologized for his lapse of judgment, but quickly pivoted to damage control, vowing to restore the trust of San Franciscans. A few days later, he announced he was seeking help for alcohol abuse, implying the affair was a booze-fueled mistake. But let's cut through the noise. A 2007 San Francisco Weekly article detailed Newsom's reputation as a party boy, with stories of late-night bar crawls and questionable behavior going back years. Insiders told the Chronicle that Newsom's heavy drinking was an open secret in City Hall. And in 2018, get this, Newsom admitted he never actually went to rehab, despite letting that narrative linger for years, a lie that resurfaced during his 2025 wildfire response criticism. This wasn't a one-off mistake, it was a lifestyle. Here's the outrage. Newsom survived the scandal. How? Because San Francisco's political machine had his back. Willie Brown, the Gettys, and the city's elite closed ranks around their golden boy. The San Francisco Chronicle reported in March 2007 that Newsom's approval rating dipped to 55%, but he bounced back fast. By 2007, November, he was reelected with 72% of the vote, facing only fringe candidates like a nudist activist and a sex club owner. This scandal set the tone for Newsom's career. Big promises, bigger screw-ups, and an uncanny ability to skate by. He partied his way through City Hall, and the elites let him. But the scandals didn't stop there. Let's talk about how he took this act to Sacramento and turned up the volume. Fast forward to 2010, Patriots. Newsom's done his time as San Francisco's mayor, weathering the affair scandal and polishing his progressive credentials. Now he's got his eyes on bigger prizes. He runs for the lieutenant governor of California, a low-profile job that basically a political waiting room, and squeaks by with 50.1% of the vote against Republican Abel Maladano. Probably said that wrong. The role is a snooze fest, but Newsom is used to it. Network, fundraise, and plot his next move. By 2018, he's ready for the big leagues, the governor's race. Running against Republican John Cox, Newsom's campaigns as a progressive superhero, promising universal health care, climate action, and a fix for California's spiraling homelessness crisis. California, being the deep blue state it is, hands him a landslide victory, 62% to 38%. On January 7, 2019, Gavin Newsom becomes California's 40th governor. But here's the truth. With great power comes great screw-ups, and Newsom's governorship is a scandal factory on steroids. Let's start with the French Laundry fiasco. Remember this? The scandal that defined Newsom's governorship. In November 2020, while California was under some of the strictest COVID lockdowns in the nation, small businesses shuttered, schools closed, families banned from gathering. Newsom was caught dining at the French Laundry, a Michelin-starred Napa Valley restaurant where a single meal cost more than most people's car payments. This wasn't a drive-through run, folks. This was a lavish, maskless dinner with lobbyists, political insiders, and big money donors. The San Francisco Chronicle broke the story on November 18, 2020, with photos showing Newsom cozying up with his buddies. No social distancing in sight. The bill? Thousands of dollars, including $350 bottles of wine, while Californians were told to stay home, save lives. Newsom was living like a king in Napa Valley. Here's his apology to the public.
And I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up and walked back, got in my car, and drove back to my house. Instead, I chose to sit there with my wife and a number of other couples that were outside the household. And you can quibble about the guidelines, et cetera, but the spirit of what I'm preaching all the time was contradicted, and I got to own that. And so I want to apologize to you.
Patriots, this is Newsom's M.O. Rules for thee, but not for me. And didn't that have about as much heart as the first apology clip? He spent months preaching about masks and lockdowns, crushing small businesses and churches, while he partied with the elite. His apology was a masterclass in political spin. He claimed it was an outdoor dinner, and that he followed protocols. But the photos told a different story. A tightly packed indoor setting, masks nowhere to be found. The hypocrisy lit a fire under Californians. A 2020 Los Angeles Times poll showed 61% of voters disapproved of Newsom's actions. The backlash was so intense, it sparked a recall effort in 2021, with over 1.7 million signatures demanding his ouster. Newsom survived the recall, winning 61.9% of the vote, but it exposed how out of touch he is with the regular people. But the French Laundry wasn't a one-off. Let's talk about the California high-speed rail project, a Newsom obsession that's become a taxpayer-funded nightmare. Newsom's been pushing this bullet train from LA to San Francisco since his mayor days, promising it would revolutionize travel. The original cost was $33 billion. Now it's over $100 billion, with no completion in sight. A 2019 California State Auditor's report tore the project apart, citing quote-unquote flawed decision-making, poor contract management, as well as significant cost overruns. Insider deals enriched Newsom's allies in the construction and consulting industries, per a 2022 Los Angeles Times investigation that revealed only that 119 miles of the track were under construction, with no clear timeline for completion. Meanwhile, taxpayers are on the hook for billions. This is a quick clip from CBS Sacramento 6 years ago, touching on the delays and increasing costs of the bullet train back then.
On your Friday morning, state auditors say bad decision-making and poor contract management is to blame for the more expensive and delayed high-speed rail project. The audit says the project was started before critical planning was ever completed in 2013, citing more than $2 billion in contract changes. The project is now estimated at $77 billion and is expected to open in 2033.
Folks, this is what happens when you put a slick-talking elitist in charge. Newsom's not building infrastructure. He's building a legacy of failure. And it's not just the train. Homelessness in California has skyrocketed under Newsom, up 40% since 2019, with over 180,000 homeless people statewide in just 2024, according to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Crime in major cities like San Francisco and LA is up 31% since 2019. And the state's budget? A $12 billion deficit in 2024, despite Newsom's promises of fiscal discipline. A 2023 Hoover Institution report called California's economy a slow-motion train wreck, with businesses fleeing to states like Texas and Florida. Newsom's response? More photo ops and empty promises. And now he's got a new stunt that's got everyone talking. His podcast. Let's dive into that disaster next. Alright, things are about to get weird. In March 2025, Gavin Newsom launches a podcast called This is Gavin Newsom. Now, I'm all for free speech, but this move is straight up bizarre. After years of bashing Trump and MAGA, Newsom decides to invite right-wing heavyweights like Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk onto his show. Why? To quote, understand their motivations and find common ground. Give me a break. This isn't about dialogue. It's about Newsom rebranding himself as a centrist for the 2028 presidential run. But it's blowing up in his face like a bad fireworks show, since July 4th is around the corner. Let's break down the Charlie Kirk episode. Newsom sits down with Turning Point USA founder, fawning over his success and influence. Then hold on to your hats. He agrees with Kirk that trans women competing in women's sports is deeply unfair, quote unquote. Yes, the progressive poster boy sided with a conservative talking point. Liberals lost their minds. The Los Angeles Times called the episode cringy and a desperate ploy for relevance in a March 2025 op-ed. A Capital Weekly poll from the same month showed that 26% of California voters viewed Newsom less favorably after the podcast. On X, the backlash was brutal. Posts like, Gavin's pandering to MAGA. What's next? A Trump endorsement? And this is a betrayal of progressive values. Even his own base was turning on him. Here's a little clip from that episode with Gavin and Kirk. Sounds like he's trying to sing a new tune, a conservative, or at least middle-of-the-road tune.
But, like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. It is an issue of fairness.
So
it's deeply unfair.
Would you speak out against this young man, A.B. Hernandez, who right now is going to win the state championship in the long jump? I can see you wrestling with it.
No, I'm not wrestling. I'm not wrestling with the fairness issue. I totally agree with you. By the way, as someone with 4 kids, I think
and
got
two daughters, right?
2 daughters.
And I have a daughter too.
And a wife that went, God forbid, to Stanford and played on the junior national soccer team, and a guy who got into college only because I was left-handed and could throw a baseball a little bit or hit the ball for a little bit. So I revere sports, and so the issue of fairness is completely legit. And I saw that the last couple of years. Boy, did I saw how you guys were able to weaponize that issue at another level.
Not weaponize. Don't. That's
well, weaponize may be pejorative. You're right, but you were able to
shine a light on,
highlight it in a way that, frankly, there are not that many. We're talking about, I think, the NC2A, what, 510,000? No, but I just didn't realize.
It's 890 medals and trophies that we know of in the last 5 years. That's a lot.
No, so let me step back, say completely fair on the issue of fairness. I completely agree. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that.
After that, then came this Steve Bannon episode. A complete train wreck. Newsom let Bannon ramble about the stolen 2020 election without pushing back. Not a single challenge. The Sacramento Bee ran an op-ed calling it a new low for Newsom. And even Adam Kinzinger, a never-Trump Republican, tweeted, Newsom's Bannon interview is unforgivable. What is he doing? Patriots, this isn't about common ground. It's about Newsom's ego. He's been eyeing the White House since his San Francisco days, and this podcast is just a latest stunt to stay relevant. But it's alienating everyone, Democrats, Republicans, and independents. A 2025 Politico report noted that Newsom's national favorability dropped to 38%, down from 45% in 2023. His own party is starting to see him as a liability. Let's talk about his presidential ambitions. Newsom's got the charm, the money, and the media savvy to make a run. He's been building a national profile for decades. Remember his 2004 push for same-sex marriage as a mayor? He defied state law to marry gay couples, grabbing headlines and cementing his progressive cred. The New York Times called it a bold move at the time, but it was calculated, a way to stand out in a crowded Democratic field. Now, with California's economy tanking and his podcasts flopping, his 2028 dreams are looking shaky. A 2025 CNN poll showed only 12% of Democrats want him as the 2028 nominee, trailing Kamala Harris at 28% and Pete Buttigieg at 15%. Newsom's trying to play both sides, cozying up to the conservatives while preaching progressive values. But he's proving he's a political chameleon with no core. And let's not forget his other policy flops. Newsom's pushed harder for single-payer health care, but it's gone nowhere. A 2022 California Health Care Foundation report estimated it would cost $400 billion annually, more than the state's entire budget. His marijuana legalization push? A 2023 California Policy Center report found black markets still dominate, with illegal sales outpacing legal ones 2-1. And his climate agenda, he's banned gas-powered cars by 2035. But a 2024 Hoover Institution study warned it'll cost consumers $20 billion more in higher energy prices. Newsom's big ideas are just that, ideas, with no substance to back them up. So, what's the big picture, Patriots? Gavin Newsom's rise to power is a story of privileged connections and relentless ambition. From his Getty-backed winery days to the governor's mansion, he leveraged his charm and elite allies to climb the political ladder. But the scandals, the 2007 affair, the French Laundry hypocrisy, the high-speed rail disaster, paint a picture of a man more concerned with image than results. California is in chaos. Homelessness is up 40%, crime up 31%, a $12 billion budget deficit. And now his podcast stunt has turned him into a political punchline. Let's dig deeper into his legacy. Newsom's often credited with bold moves, like legalizing recreational marijuana in 2016, and pushing for single-payer health care. But look closer. And it's all smoke and mirrors. The marijuana rollout was a disaster. Black markets still thrive. His health care plan stalled in the legislature, costing taxpayers millions in studies with no results. And his homelessness initiatives, a 2024 UCLA study found his $20 billion in funding since 2019 has barely dented the crisis, with tent encampments growing in every major city. Newsom's a master of promising the moon and delivering a pebble. The podcast is the final nail in the coffin. Newsom thought he could charm conservatives. While keeping his progressive base, he's lost both sides. The San Francisco Chronicle reported in April that Democratic donors are rethinking their support for Newsom's future campaigns. On X, conservatives are calling him a fraud, with posts like, Newsom's podcast is a fake MAGA love fest. He's still a tax and spend liberal. Even his own party is turning on him. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's former aide tweeted, Gavin's lost his way. This guy's not fooling anyone. So, what's next for Newsom? He's clearly gunning for the 2028, but his track record is a liability. California is a mess, and his scandals are a national laughingstock. Patriots, we can't let this guy anywhere near the White House. He's a symptom of a broken system, elite, out of touch, and obsessed with power. Here's what we do. We stay informed. We share some clips of this, maybe with your friends, and call out the hypocrisy. Share this episode on X, tag us at O'Connor Stand, and let's spread the word. Support leaders who put America first, not their own egos. We've got to fight ahead. But we're in this together, and let's keep the pressure on. Well, that's a wrap for episode 3 of O'Connor's Right Stand. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I am honored. Today, we've ripped the mask off Gavin Newsom's rise to power and exposed the scandals that define him. From the 2007 affair that shocked San Francisco to the French Laundry hypocrisy, the high-speed rail disaster, and his train wreck podcast that's got everyone scratching their heads. This guy is all style, no substance, and California is paying the price. Homelessness, crime, deficits, you name it. God help us all if he finds his way into 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So, thanks for tuning in, folks. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and follow me on X at O'Connor Stand. We're back next week with more truth bombs, so stay locked and loaded. Until then, keep fighting the good fight, keep the faith, and never let the left rewrite the narrative. This is John O'Connor, holding the line unapologetically, signing off.